Welcome to a new episode of Cheaters Always Cheat. Like, subscribe, and share to stay connected.
So, let me give you some background. I've known my wife since we were around 13, although we weren't very close at first. By chance, we became closer and started dating when we were 16. We got married when we turned 21, and now we have 2 kids together. Our son is 5 years old, and our daughter is 3. I'm the sole breadwinner in the family and earn a good income from my job. It's enough to live comfortably, support my family, save some money, and even go on vacations. Towards the end of last year, I went through a lot of personal issues, and I was laid off from work for about a month due to some problems at the work site. During that time, I took some time off, looked for another job, relaxed a bit, caught up with friends, and had a few drinks. Not excessive, and only at night when the kids were asleep. All of this led to arguments between my wife and me. I got my current job in late November, and because of my work schedule, I had to wake up very early on New Year's Day. So, we went to my parents' house to watch the fireworks. Our kids ended up falling asleep there, so she decided to stay the night and come back the next day. I couldn't stay because of work, so I left around 12:30. She didn't come home for another 3 days, and I started feeling like something was wrong. A couple of weeks passed, and one night when I arrived home late from work and everyone was asleep, I went to give my kids a kiss and say goodnight. On my way back to the kitchen, I noticed her phone lighting up. Curiosity got the best of me, and I checked her phone. I saw an unusual notification, which made me investigate further. She created a new social media account using a fake name and was chatting with another guy. As I scrolled through the messages, I discovered that she had been talking to him since December. It wasn't just casual conversation. She called him babe, expressed her strong desire to be with him, and said she loved him. Surprisingly, she referred to me as her ex, which made me furious. I even saw that on New Year's Day, right after I left. She messaged him, saying, "Happy New Year's, babe. I love you so much." Their messages revealed that they had arguments about jealousy and had broken up. By the way, he is a random guy living in another country. I confronted her about it, and she started with the usual apologies and excuses. Foolishly, I forgave her, but the trust between us was shattered. Fast forward to February, and that familiar feeling of suspicion returned. I decided to do some snooping and discovered that she was talking to another guy on Snapchat. In her conversations, she claimed to be single, without kids, and 21 years old, while the guy was 20. He lived on the other side of the country, and he was a complete stranger. I initially thought it wasn't too serious, and left it for the next day. That's when I discovered the other conversations she had with him, where they expressed their strong desire to be together and have closeness. Without going into explicit details, the messages were very explicit. She even sent him photos of herself in lingerie. I confronted her once again and talked to her about how angry and hurt I was because she broke my trust again. While we were talking, he messaged her again, which made me even more furious. I told her that I wanted a divorce and that I couldn't be with someone who constantly lies. She didn't seem too bothered, but she didn't want me to leave because of our kids, so I messaged him myself. When she found out, she started crying because he was mad at her for lying to him, but she didn't cry over me, her husband, and the father of our 2 kids. That was the final straw for me, and I packed up my stuff and left. She said she loves me, but she's not in love with me anymore. I don't even know what our relationship is anymore. Technically, we're still married, but how can I stay with someone like that? However, I don't want my kids to suffer because of their mother's actions. So here's what happened next. I turned to a lawyer to try and sort out this huge mess. I knew I had to go no contact with my wife because every conversation just seemed to turn sour. It was tough because she was still the mother of my children, but she'd hurt me too much. Meanwhile, she was having a tough time. She struggled to make ends meet and couldn't provide for herself or the kids. That was a whole other worry. Our kids were so young, and I didn't want them to suffer because of our situation. So, I did the next big thing. I filed for divorce. That was a harsh blow for her. The house we lived in wasn't actually ours. It was a gift from my mom to me. So in the end, I ended up keeping the house, and she had to move out. My ex doesn't have a lot of savings, so she could barely afford to rent a place. The only option left was for her to move to a trailer park and live in a rented trailer. She didn't have any family or relatives to turn to. She'd been abandoned by them at an early age, and now was all alone. Now, she's out there struggling to make ends meet, and I'm here, taking care of our kids and trying to provide the best for them. I have full custody, and I plan on doing everything I can to ensure they don't end up like their mother. So, that's where things stand now. It's not perfect, but it's better than where we were. Life has a funny way of teaching us lessons, and I guess this was mine. Now, all I can do is focus on our kids and hope for a better future. Second story, I caught her. I had been in a relationship with a girl for 6 months, and we had gone on several small trips together. It was not just a casual fling, but a serious commitment. One evening, we had plans to spend time together, but she canceled last minute due to a sudden family dinner. She called me from the restaurant's bathroom claiming to be there with her family because it's considered impolite to talk on the phone in a restaurant, except inside the women's bathroom. She apologized and promised to call me later that night once she returned home from dinner. That night, she didn't call me as promised, so I decided to call her. However, she didn't answer. The next morning, I received an early morning call from her phone, so I answered. It was a guy on the other end asking who I was. Confused, I asked him the same question, and he revealed that he's her boyfriend. He had just discovered that she was dating someone else, me. According to him, they had been in a relationship for a year, but he had been occupied with his business and hadn't been able to see her for the past few months. Supposedly, they had gone out for dinner the previous night and then checked into a hotel. While she was showering that night, he noticed her phone ringing and saw that it was a guy's name. Curiosity got the better of him, and he decided to snoop through her phone, discovering all the pictures of us together and the exchanged emails. He kept it to himself and waited until the morning when she was still asleep to call me and confront the situation. I was extremely surprised, so I told him he could have her and that she was worthless. He responded, saying he just wanted to make sure I was done with her. She called me on the phone, crying and apologizing, promising to explain later. I told her to go away and used all sorts of terrible words. I'd never been so harsh with anyone before or since with the things I said. It felt satisfying, and even more satisfying, when she started breaking down. I felt really awful for the next few days and realized that this guy was nowhere near the level of boyfriend I had been to her. He was a fool. I felt like I deserved her more, and she claimed she had already ended things with him and begged me to take her back. I demanded evidence that she had truly ended it with him. She provided the proof, and we reconciled. However, the guy then started stalking her and sending threatening emails and texts. The police got involved, and he backed off. A few months later, she moved to another country under the pretense of studying abroad, but it was actually to spend time with the guy she had been chatting with on MySpace. That's when I finally ended the relationship. It was a tough year for me, but I learned a lot. I will never be that trusting and gullible again. I cringe when I think about the time I wasted with her, especially when I tried to change her after we got back together. She had a boyfriend from before she met me, and I was being fooled. She claimed she realized she liked me more at some point, but then why did she go back to the other guy? The answer is, she was a deceitful and unfaithful person. Since then, she has gained weight, lost her attractiveness, and overall transformed from cute to unappealing. I definitely feel like I came out on top in the end. Third story. I have been happily married for 3 years with my wife. I believed we were content and deeply in love, but a few days ago, she dropped a shocking revelation on me. She confessed to having an affair and expressed that she still loves me, but desires an open relationship. It devastated me, and I asked her to leave so I could process and make sense of it all. Fast forward to this morning, I received a visit from her parents, my in-laws. I've always had a positive relationship with them and hoped they would support me and help me persuade my wife that this situation was unfair to our marriage. To my surprise, things didn't go as I had expected. Her dad, a man whom I've always held in high regard, initiated the conversation. He revealed to me that their own marriage had been saved by embracing the same terms that my wife was proposing. They had chosen to have an open relationship several years ago, and he claimed that it had actually strengthened their connection. He expressed his desire for us to have the same experience, stating that accepting this would be a display of love and maturity. I was completely shocked and struggling to comprehend this revelation when her mother added her input. And her words, they were incredibly harsh. She bluntly stated that I was failing to meet her daughter's needs and labeled me as inadequate. According to her, I was being self-centered and unloving by refusing to embrace the new arrangement. Guys, I felt stripped of my masculinity, betrayed, and utterly bewildered. This is not what I anticipated when I made my vows and said, I do. I can't simply overlook the act of cheating. This is not the kind of lifestyle I desire, and it feels unjust and overwhelming to have this sudden burden placed on me. It's as if my whole world has been disrupted, and now I'm expected to embrace it as if it's some profound revelation. Get ready for another unexpected turn of events, this time involving my mother, and it's not a pleasant story. Today, out of the blue, my mother and mother-in-law paid me a surprise visit. As soon as they entered the room, I could sense a tense and uneasy atmosphere. My usually cheerful and affectionate mother wore a serious expression. Son, she started, speaking in a confident yet kind manner, we've been talking about your situation. Yeah, I've noticed, I replied, crossing my arms. What do you think about it, Mom? She exchanged a glance with my mother-in-law and let out a sigh. I think it might be worth considering. The arrangement your wife is proposing. I was taken aback. You're siding with them? Why? Well, she paused. I've always had concerns that maybe you wouldn't be able to satisfy your wife due to certain physical shortcomings. My jaw dropped. Here was my own mother, the woman who raised me, echoing the hurtful words of my mother-in-law. I felt a mix of betrayal, sadness, and embarrassment. I asked them both to leave, needing some time alone. Feeling like my world was spinning out of control, I reached out to my father. While we weren't the closest, he had always been honest and direct with me. I quickly filled him in on the situation. Feeling overwhelmed and confused, I decided to call my father. Although we weren't extremely close, he had always been upfront and truthful with me. I promptly described the situation to him. Jesus, he grunted on the phone. Your mother said that. I can't believe it. Well, actually, I can. His words caught me off guard. What do you mean, Dad? I'm not surprised that she's siding with this. Your mother, she wasn't exactly faithful herself. It's a significant reason why we divorced when you moved out. The shocking revelations kept coming, and it felt like I was trapped in a horrifying nightmare. Son, we need to have a serious conversation, he continued. Let's arrange a meeting with a lawyer to discuss how we can navigate through this. And so, that's what comes next. My dad and I have set up an appointment with a lawyer. I'm filled with fear, pain, and complete bewilderment. Today, we had the meeting with the lawyer, and here's how it unfolded. I'll be honest, stepping into that law office was overwhelming. However, having my father by my side provided some reassurance. We gave the lawyer a detailed account of everything, from my wife's desire for an open marriage to the insensitivity displayed by my in-laws, and even my own mother's hurtful remarks. The lawyer, a composed and serious woman, attentively listened to our explanation. She highlighted that the legal aspects concerning open marriages were intricate, and there were specific points I needed to be clear about. First and foremost, she stressed the importance of my consent. No matter what others may say, it is crucial that you have the right to decide what you feel comfortable with in your relationship, she firmly stated. Additionally, she clarified that if we choose to end our marriage, my wife's unfaithfulness could have implications based on the laws of our state. She also discussed the division of assets, potential spousal support, and how any future instances of infidelity might influence these matters. Lastly, she recommended that we consider undergoing couples therapy before making any major decisions. This suggestion was not legally mandated, but rather a personal recommendation. She explained that therapy could provide a safe and mediated environment for my wife and me to express our emotions and thoughts, offering a chance to seek resolution. However, I'm afraid it's too late for couples therapy. Just an hour ago, I had a conversation with my wife over the phone, and her response was, well, exactly what you would expect. Therapy won't make a difference, she said with a cold tone. I still love you, but I'm firm on this. You either accept it or it happens without your agreement. I was completely speechless. The woman I had loved and married stood before me presenting an ultimatum that shook me to my core. In that moment, something inside me snapped. I asked her for a divorce. To that, she simply smirked and remarked, I won't sign any divorce papers. We made vows, remember? I packed a bag and left our home, feeling more lost than ever before. I made the decision to temporarily move in with my father. Did you think it ended like that? Oh, no. My mother appeared at my father's doorstep, scolding him for standing by me and encouraging my stubbornness. She insisted that I should be more compassionate and adaptable in my marriage. That was the last straw. My patience and kindness, already stretched thin, completely snapped. I confronted her and called her out for her double standards and unfaithfulness. You're nothing but a cheating witch, I angrily exclaimed, releasing all the built-up anger and sense of betrayal. You have no right to lecture me about compassion and adaptability. She stormed off, visibly shaken. I had never spoken to her like that before, but in that moment, it felt justified. So here I am, residing with my dad, uncertain of what to do next. My wife refuses to divorce, my mother lacks support, and my world has been turned upside down.